All right, so today is the final day of the review, day 5, and we're going to do 2 problems of geometric series, and then we're going to kind of switch gears and do like some combinatoric stuff, like the chapter 11 stuff. And then after that, we're going to jump a little bit further back in the past and do some trig stuff, okay? So we're going to kind of jump to 3 different things. But let's start off with number 45 here. This one says evaluate the infinite geometric series. Now, they said this is a geometric series. They want me to evaluate. One thing I should note is that it says infinity on top. So that means that this is an infinite sum. Okay? If it's an infinite sum, then this is my formula. Remember, provided that the absolute value of r is less than 1. Let me change that r to look a little nicer. But provided that the absolute value of r is less than 1. If it is, then I can use the formula. If it's not less than 1, if it's greater than or equal to 1, then I cannot use this formula. I just put no sum. So the main things I have to figure out, let me write one more thing here, is what my first term is and what my r value is. So I'm writing down the formula of a geometric sequence, a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. Notice it's up there, right? 3 times half to the n minus 1. So my a sub 1 is 3, right? It's right there. A sub 1 is 3. My r value is half. That's right here. Okay? Now, is it true that half is less than, or the absolute value of half is less than 1? Yeah, it is. So since it is, that means I can use that formula to find my sum. So S is equal to a sub 1, which is 3, over 1 minus half. You put that into your calculator, and you get 6. Okay? Because 1 minus half is half, 3 divided by half is 6. So, but again, you can just put that straight into your calculator. Put a fraction, 3 on top. On the bottom, put 1 minus half, and you'll get your answer. Okay? So there you go. Pretty easy. This isn't a hard question whatsoever, but you do need to know what formula am I supposed to use? What does the sequence actually look like, right? So you have to know that this represents a geometric sequence, right? A sub 1 is the first number, r is the one with the power, right? So then I got to identify them in my sum. And then once I know that, then I'm good. Okay? Notice they did mention that this is an infinite geometric series, but if they wouldn't have mentioned infinite in the problem, I should be able to get that from the upper bound being infinity. Okay, if the upper bound was like a 20, then it's finite. I need a different equation. The one that's, what is it? S sub n equals a sub 1 times, and then 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. So we did that one yesterday. Here's another one that says evaluate the infinite geometric series. Okay, so you can see the sum as n goes from 1 to infinity of half times 3 halves to the n minus 1. Again, same formulas we're going to use. I know I'm writing it down again. You don't have to, but I'm just trying to keep things organized here for you. Again, provided that the absolute value of r is less than 1. Okay, and remember that the geometric sequence can be rewritten like this. Okay, so that means that my a sub 1 is half. That's right here. And my r is 3 halves. That's right there. Is it true that the absolute value of 3 halves is less than 1? Well, this is not true, right? Because that's 1.5. 1.5 is not less than 1. So we're just going to write no sum. Notice we've done 2 of these no sum problems, right? So that means that for sure they're going to show up on the test. How many? I'm not sure. I don't know why I did 2. Maybe I did 2 because at least 2 are going to show up. These are not hard problems. If you know what you're doing, you can do these in less than a minute. Okay, they're not supposed to take a long time. Just so you know, on average, we're giving you 2 minutes per question. Okay, that's gonna be about 120 minutes. That's 2 hours. If we had 60, we're actually gonna have about 52 minutes, 52 questions. So That's 104 minutes. That gives you 26 minutes of leeway before the bell rings, right? Now, 2 minutes per question is asking a lot sometimes, right? Some of these questions are really fast. You can do them in seconds. So don't feel like, man, I'm going to be working all period. Like, not necessarily. Some of them might take you a little longer. Something like this should not take 2 minutes.
Pardon the interruption. If there are any seniors on campus who are attending the grad walk, you need to head to the bus right now. Once again, seniors, if you're participating in the grad walk, you need to get to the bus right now. Thank you.
All right, so find the number of possible outcomes. Okay, they say a spinner can land on green, red, blue, or black, and you spin it 3 times. This is not a combination. This is not a permutation. How do I know? I'm not picking anything, right? I'm not choosing anything. It doesn't say we got 20 people, we're going to choose 3 of them to do something, or we have 15 items and we're going to choose 5 of them or pick 5 of them. This just says, look, you got a spinner and you're going to spin it 3 times. It can land on 4 different colors. How many events do I have? 3, right? Spinning it 3 times is the event. The colors are not events. Okay, I could look at a crayon. That's not an event. Okay, picking a crayon would be an event. Picking or getting spinning something is an event, right? So first spin times second spin times third spin. How many options does the first spin have? 4. How many does the second one have? 4 as well. And the last one would be 4. Okay, now if you're thinking, wait a minute, 4, 3, 2, did they say that I cannot get the same color? No. If they would have said you can't get the same color, then what would my numbers be? 4, 3, 2, right? It'd be 4, 3, 2. But they didn't say that. So 4 times 4 times 4, that's 64. That's how many different ways this can happen. Okay? So for me, the counting principle problems, these problems, I always find really easy, but I think it's just because I'm used to them and I can tell when they are counting principle versus permutations. But usually these are pretty easy to do. Now, the next ones are literally telling you, is this a permutation or combination? How many possible outcomes? Okay. Now, if you look at the question, this is a digital combination lock. I told you guys, digital combination locks are always permutations. I said these are tricky because they say combination on it. So you think, oh, it's a combination, but they're actually permutations. Okay. So write that down for yourself. Like digital combination lock, always permutation. Okay. Put that on your notes. That way, when you're writing your cheat sheet, you put that down. Okay. This is a permutation. Okay. It says you are setting a combination on a 4-digit lock. The numbers you need to use are 1, 3, 4, and 9. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter which order you put them, but it matters that you put specific numbers in certain places. That's why I told you this one's tricky because, like I said, it doesn't matter where you put the 9, but you have to put a 9. So even though it doesn't matter, it matters that you put it. So this one's tricky. So anytime you see digital combination locks, permutation. I'm trying to get you away from wondering which one is it. No, it's always a permutation. Okay. So the numbers you can use are 1, 3, 4, and 9. So according to a permutation, I have these 4 numbers, and I'm going to put them in order. I'm going to put all 4 of them in an order. So I'm just going to go 4, and then shift times, and then a 4. That gives me 24. And there you go. Again, this is kind of why I wanted you guys to get a calculator in case you need to kind of practice doing this again. But notice, this doesn't take long. I know it's taking me a while explaining it, but if I didn't have to explain it, I'd see combination lock, 4 numbers, 4p4, enter, go, move on. Okay? So really quick. Same idea, number 49. Is this a permutation or a combination? How many possible outcomes? It says the student body of 60 wants to elect a president, vice president, and secretary. What is this? Permutation, because of the fact that the 3 people they are choosing have a specific job, right? So this is 60 permute 3, right? 60p3. So 60 shift times 3, that's 205,320. Thank you. So there you go. Now, if it just said the student body of 60 wants to elect 3 people from their class, then what would that be? Not president, vice president, just 3 people to represent them. That would be a combination, because those 3 people have no like extra importance. They just got chosen, but that's it. Okay. So just out of curiosity, has everybody here seen the Hunger Games? Anybody here not seen the Hunger Games? All right. So in the Hunger Games, they choose people out of it's almost like one of those bingo things, right? Like they're all the people's names are there, and they just pick them out, right? Let's say there's 200, as they call them, tributes, and they have to pick 2, right? So let's say there's 200 tributes, and they got to pick 2. Would that be a permutation or a combination, based on the way the movie worked? It's a combination. It didn't matter which 2 they picked. They just need 2 to sacrifice, right? You didn't want to be one of those 2, but that's Hunger Games was a combination, right? So anyway, there you go. Not that that was part of the movie or that it mattered in the movie, but sometimes for people that do math, when we saw that, we're like, oh, that's a combination. How many ways can you be? How many ways are there that you won't be chosen, right? So, all right. I think the last 5 or 6, sorry, are all triangle type problems. Yes. So these were going to be kind of heavy on calculators. Okay. Well, maybe not. Well, yeah, we might. So number 50, find the value of the trig function. They want to know what is tangent of theta. Now, in order to do this, you guys do have to remember your definitions for these things. So just a quick reminder. Sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. Tangent of theta. Actually, let me do cosine. Because if you want to remember SOHCAHTOA, this is the way it's going to be. Cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent of theta is opposite over adjacent. I'm also going to remind you of the Pythagorean theorem. Remember, a squared plus b squared equals c squared can only work if there's a 90-degree angle in the triangle, that it's called a right triangle. Also remember that a and b, for your Pythagorean theorem, are the legs, and c is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest side, okay? So you need to know all that stuff for the following problems. Don't forget that you can actually find angles by doing inverses. So sine inverse, cosine inverse, tangent inverse. You can do all that stuff. So let's go ahead and do our problem. It says find the value of the trig function. So this is my angle right here. Okay? They want me to find tangent. That means I need opposite, which this would be opposite the angle. This is the hypotenuse. I need the adjacent side, right? But I don't have the adjacent side. So I got to figure it out. I know that my hypotenuse is 5, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of work here. Let's say a squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. Okay, 5 is the hypotenuse, so that becomes my c value. So this is a squared plus 16 equals 25. If I move the 16 over, a squared equals 9. If I square root both sides, I get that a has to be plus or minus 3, but distance can't be negative, so a is 3. So we know adjacent is 3. So tangent of theta, according to the definition, is opposite over adjacent, 4 over 3. So just write 4 over 3 and you're done. Okay, so 4 over 3, and this is finished. Okay, so tangent of theta is 4 over 3. We're going to do this again with, I think, a sine function, just to get a little bit more practice on it. And then we'll move on to a different type of technique with triangles. This one says find the value of the trig function again. Sine of theta. So again, sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. We'll label these sides really quick. Here's my angle. Okay, this is the angle that I want. The opposite side to that angle is the 5. The hypotenuse is unknown. And this is my adjacent. Remember, your hypotenuse is always opposite your 90-degree angle, right? That's how I know this is the hypotenuse, because I looked at the 90-degree angle and shot straight across the side that it's touching. That's my hypotenuse, okay? So I got to figure out the hypotenuse because the definition of sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So let me go ahead and figure out that part. So a squared, I'll just use 5. It doesn't matter which one you use, plus b squared, that's square root of 30, is equal to c squared. Okay, if you want, let me rewrite that up here in case in the notes people are wondering what the heck I just did. So this is 25 plus 30 is equal to c squared. That's 55 equal to c squared. Okay, so if I take the square root, c is equal to the square root of 55. Remember, it's plus or minus the square root, but the distance can't be negative. So we only take the positive. That means that the hypotenuse is radical 55. So sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. That would be 5 over square root of 55. Now, you're not supposed to have square roots on the bottom, right? So you're going to get your calculator, unless you want to do it the old-fashioned way. But if I were you, I'd just use my calculator. 5 and then square root of 55. I hit enter, and it writes this down for me. Square root of 55 over 11. Okay? Now, if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you'd multiply the top and bottom by square root of 55 and simplify. Okay? But you have a calculator, use it. Right? Why am I going to do something the hard way when I got something that can help me do it quickly? Any questions right now on finding the definition values? We're not going to do a cosine one, but it's the same thing. It's just you're looking at adjacent and hypotenuse, and if you don't have one of those, then use the Pythagorean theorem to find it, and then from there you should be able to find your solutions. All right, now switching to a different type of triangle problem. It says find the measure of the side. So in these problems, you have to figure out which trig function can I use. They gave me an angle, and they gave me two sides, but one of the sides is an x, right? So according to this angle, what is x? Is this opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? This is opposite. What is the 10? This is adjacent. So I got opposite and adjacent. Which trig function do I use? Tangent, yeah, tangent. So I'm going to write tangent of theta is opposite over adjacent, or tangent of 30 is equal to x over 10. I'm going to multiply the 10 over to this side, okay? Multiplying it. So x is equal to 10 times tangent of 30 degrees. Okay, I'm going to make sure my calculator is in degrees. Yes, it is. There should be a letter D on your calculator. If you're not sure, we'll change it, okay? Let me know. But I'll try to remind you guys in the day of the test to double check that things are in degrees. But they should be, because none of my calc kids use these, and they would have to have it in radians. So I'm going to multiply 10 times tangent of 30. I'm literally just typing in 10 times tangent of 30, hitting equals, and I get, well, it gives me a fraction, 10 radical 3 over 3, but that's probably not the answer they're going to have on the test. If they do, great. But they most likely want me to write it in decimal, so I'm going to press the SD button, right? And that gives me 5.773, so I'll just go 5.77. And there you go. Just curious, are they hitting piñatas outside? Okay. I mean, either that or someone's destroying property. So these aren't supposed to be terribly difficult. It's just takes a little bit of time. Okay. Same idea. We got another triangle. We're given an angle. We're given two sides. We got to find the missing side, right? So I have a 37.2 degrees. I have a side of 2, a side of x. Remember, even though if it's a hypotenuse, it's still considered a side. Or actually, in triangles, we call them legs. There's 3 legs. Okay. So according to this angle of 37.2, what is the 2? Is that opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? That's opposite. What about the x? Hypotenuse. All right. So opposite and hypotenuse, that's sine, right? So sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. We're sending them off for recycling? Is that what we're doing? I mean, you guys are the new seniors now, right? A lot of you guys. Anybody here a junior next year? Oh, that's right. You'll be a junior next year. The rest of you guys going to be seniors? Yeah, there you go. Think about that. It's kind of weird to think, right? So, all right. Anyway, where was I? Opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of theta is sine of 37.2. Hopefully nobody's in there looking at me teaching, flipping me off. I have no idea. They're like, slow down. We want to do all these bad things. So here you go. So sine of 37.2 degrees is 2 over x. So all we're going to do is try to get the x by itself. But this one's one of those tricky ones. That's why I did one of these, because you got to move the x first. Okay. So we're going to write x times sine of 37.2 degrees is equal to 2. And then I got to divide by 37.2. I got to move it out. So when I divide both sides by sine of 37.2 degrees, I get x equal to, now let me get my calculator, 2 divided by, yikes, 2 divided by sine of 37.2, and that's 3.307, so 3.31. I would say this might be one of the harder ones for the triangle ones, just because of the amount of steps it takes, right? Usually it's just one step, but here, whenever the variable ends up in the denominator, you have to manipulate the equation in 2 steps. Okay, you're going to multiply, then divide to try to get the x all by itself. We got 2 more, and then we're done for good. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you guys got to take a final, but I can say I'm done. So number 54, find the measure of each angle. So here we have a triangle. I don't know what the angle is, but I am given 2 of the legs, right? I'm given, according to this angle, I'm given the hypotenuse and the adjacent side. Okay? So adjacent and hypotenuse, that's cosine. So I'm going to do cosine of theta is equal to A over H. So cosine of theta is 12 over 13. But I need the angle. So to find the angle, I'm going to do a cosine inverse. So theta is cosine inverse of 12 over 13. That's basically hitting shift cosine, okay? Shift cosine is the function on your calculator. So I'm going to press shift cosine, 12 over 13, and that gives me 22.6. So theta, 22.6 degrees. And there you go. I'm done with that one. Again, know how to do your inverse functions, okay? They're on your calculator. It's just hitting shift and then the trig function. So if you want tangent inverse, hit shift tangent. If you want sine inverse, hit shift sine. Okay? So let's do the last one. Find the measure of this angle. So based on this angle, I have the 3 is an opposite and the 4 is an adjacent. The other side that I don't know, that's my hypotenuse. So opposite and adjacent, that's tangent. So tangent of theta is opposite over adjacent. So tangent of theta is 3 over 4. I got to find the angle, so I'm going to use its inverse function, tangent inverse of 3/4. Then just get on your calculator, shift tangent 3/4. That gives me 36.9 degrees, and I'm done. And this is all you guys have to know how to do for your final exam. So it's 5 days, 55 different questions. Practice them. You don't have as much time as you think, right? So practice them.